Incredible CEO fired his seamstress. Unbelievable transformation revealed after 6 months of regret. Tyler Hayes paced the sleek, glass-walled corridors of his San Francisco office, a landscape that once sparked innovation now feeling like a cage. 6 months had passed since he made the decision to let Ruby go, and the ache of that moment lingered like a dark specter. Brilliant Ruby, his seamstress and confidant, had inflected color into his tech empire with her hand-stitched quality. Now the lively buzz of his startup was replaced with a suffocating silence, a cavernous void where their laughter had once resonated. The marketing reports whispered at him, numbers crumbling, clients feeling the disconnection that came with Ruby's absence. Would they ever forgive him? His mind raced, swirling amid the deluge of guilt and ambition. Was it truly better to streamline and save coin, or was this his hubris in action? Tyler recalled her nimble fingers dancing across fabric, her insight igniting visions of merging artistry with technology. Yet here he was, shackled to spreadsheets and profit margins, questioning whether he'd cast aside a dream that could elevate them both. "It's business," he muttered to himself, the words bitter on his tongue. The morning light filtered through the glass panes, illuminating the well-polished surfaces, but it felt more like a spotlight on his failures. Each step he took echoed like a painful reminder of Ruby's final days at the company, the tightening of her jaw, the flicker of disillusionment in her eyes as he delivered the news. He had insisted it was about efficiency, but deep inside, he felt like a liar. It was ambition clouding his judgment. "What have I done?" he whispered, dragging a hand through his hair. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Tyler found himself drawn to the centerpiece of the room, the last jacket Ruby had crafted. It stood there, hauntingly beautiful, a bold mix of colors and textures that felt like a heartbeat in the lifeless corporate environment. What had started as a garment became a manifestation of his darkest emotional turmoil. Was laying Ruby off really the only move? Clenching his fists, he felt the ripple of anxiety creeping through him. How had success become so devoid of meaning? He observed his team, their faces numb, their energy depleted. Was this what he'd envisioned when he founded the company? A sterile place where numbers suffocated the pulse of creativity? It gnawed at him, this thought of lost morale. With each hand he shook, he was reminded of the human touch he'd let slip away. Could he even salvage what he once held dear? The clock ticked louder, his heart a raw drum in his chest. As he mulled his regrets, a flicker of determination ignited. What if he could reach out to Ruby? Groveling felt demeaning, but what if he could propose a new vision, an unprecedented partnership? Every suggestion seemed a gamble, but the words clawed their way to the surface, fueled by desperation. Maybe, just maybe, they could resurrect something incredible together. Yet, even as hope stirred, doubt embedded itself deeper, whispering, "Is it too late?" The tension coiled tighter around him as he stared into the uncertain distance of his future. Decisions weighed like lead, crippling him with anxiety. Was he ready to confront the repercussions of his choices? And even if they reunited, would he be able to keep from losing her again? Time hung suspended, poised on the brink of potential disaster. A collision loomed, and he was paralyzed at the intersection of redemption and regret, drawing closer to an unthinkable moment. Would he dare to take the leap and reach out, or would he fall deeper into solitude? The answer felt just out of reach, leaving him marooned in a storm of anguish that threatened to swallow him whole. Tyler's heart raced as he stared at the jacket. The realization was dawning on him that not only had he lost Ruby, he'd also lost a part of himself, his creative spirit, the very element that made his business unique. Every inch of that garment echoed memories of playful brainstorming, of late nights spent sketching and sewing. Would he even be the same person after reaching out to her? The day dragged on, each meeting with his team feeling more like a chore, a reminder that the energy had seeped from the place. During lunch, he sat alone, awkwardly chewing on a cold sandwich as his colleagues spoke in hushed tones. Their eyes darted toward him as if gauging his mental state. Was this the same Tyler who once inspired them to think outside the box? Could he ignite their passion again? With every tick of the clock, determination battled with insecurity. What would he say to Ruby? "Hey, remember me? The guy who fired you?" He snorted silently at how pathetic that sounded. Despite the initial thought, he couldn't ignore the prospect of a reconciliation. His thoughts shifted, analyzing every option. Could he demonstrate how much they needed each other in a persuasive way? Weeks had passed since he'd last seen Ruby, and during that stretch, his confidence eroded. Tyler picked up his phone, the weight of it feeling like a declaration. As he scrolled through his contacts, hesitation paralyzed him. What if she had moved on? What if she didn't want to collaborate after the way he ended things? He found himself hitting speed dial only to cancel it at the last moment. Each failed attempt fed into the growing anxiety. This wasn't just about a business deal. It felt deeply personal, a chance to reclaim a piece of himself he feared he had lost forever. He put the phone down in frustration, his mind racing with every possible outcome. That evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in hues reminiscent of Ruby's work, he sat in silence. But what if she wants nothing to do with me anymore? A voice inside him taunted. If he truly was determined to rekindle their partnership, he had to accept the real possibility that she may not be receptive. Maybe he'd have to claw through professional embarrassment and emotional vulnerability. Slowly, clarity came. A plan began to form, a detailed proposal that highlighted her artistic importance to their vision. He envisioned illustrating how their separate paths could intersect again in a vibrant tapestry, creating a new chapter for both of them. Instead of carrying guilt, he could share his insights about the detrimental changes he'd witnessed since her departure. As the night transformed into a deep, starry canvas, a surge of purpose coursed through him. Tyler grabbed his sketchpad, channeling his anxiety into ideas, rough drafts forming into an impressive framework for a potential collaboration. His fingers danced across the pages, each stroke symbolizing hope, tomorrow imbued with the promise of rekindled creativity. He knew the path ahead would not be easy. Ruby deserved transparency. He needed to confront the fallout of his decisions head-on. This realization settled heavily on him. The task at hand was monumental, perhaps daunting, but there was no turning back. As the clock approached midnight, he felt dizzy with anticipation. Dare he reach out and risk rejection? Or could this be the moment he finally redeemed himself? He picked up the phone again, fingers hovering over Ruby's name, heart racing with a mix of hope and terror. Suddenly, he was confronted with the weight of his choices. Did he possess the courage to confront his past? The moment teetered on the edge of a tide poised to shift. A deep breath in, he deterred the shrinking doubt. Just press send, a resolute voice urged forward, a dawning realization hidden between the uncertainty. His fingers finally moved, pressing the call button and paving the way for the potential wreckage or wonder that awaited him. Would Ruby be willing to listen? The dial tone echoed in Tyler's ear, a sound that seemed to stretch endlessly, amplifying the uncertainty coursing through him. He had taken the plunge, grasping for the lifeline of his past. Would Ruby answer? Would she even recognize the urgency in his voice, the weight of all he wished to say? A myriad of emotions rushed forward: hope, dread, and regret, all swirled like paint in a shaken can, vying for dominance. Finally, she picked up. "Hello." Ruby's voice was a soft tremor, laced with skepticism. "Ruby," he breathed, surprised at how his own heart betrayed him with its rhythm. "It's Tyler." Silence settled heavily. Tyler could almost hear her calculating, was this conversation worth her time? Had he truly interrupted her life after all this time? "Why are you calling?" Curiosity tinted her tone, but he could sense the walls she'd put up in anticipation of his words. "Listen, I know I hurt you. What I said, how I treated you when I let you go, it was wrong," he started, grappling for sincerity as he laid his feelings bare. But I've realized something: I need your creativity, your vision. More than ever. Since you left, everything feels flat. I can't do this without you." There was a pause. The air seemed thick as he waited for her response, anxiety gnawing at him. He could feel his opportunities slipping away, his creative spark dimmed without her influence. Each day had melded into the next, a dismal blur of missed inspiration. "You think I just come back because you've had a change of heart?" Ruby's words cut with a sharpness he expected but still managed to sting. "You're not even asking for forgiveness, Tyler. This is more about you, isn't it?" Her accusation grounded him. This conversation was about more than their collaboration, it was about acknowledging the full scope of his shortcomings. "I know," he admitted, humbled. "I was blinded by pride. I thought I could manage on my own, but I only succeeded in stifling our vision. I didn't understand how vital you were to our success, to my success, to everything." The confession hung between them, and he sensed the heaviness in her skepticism. But it was a pivotal moment. His understanding began to shift from wanting resolution to genuinely valuing Ruby's indispensable contribution. "I've been working on some ideas," he pressed on, allowing himself to be vulnerable. "I want to start fresh. I've drafted a proposal that outlines how we might move forward, together. You deserve to have a voice in this, and I'm ready to listen this time." The quiet that followed felt infinite. Tyler could almost hear the gears in her mind turning, weighing his offer against the pain of their past. He held on to the truth in his words. This was not just about restoring their partnership but about redefining his approach to leadership, embracing collaboration instead of dictation. "Send me the proposal," she finally said, her tone now edged with cautious intrigue. "I'll look it over, but I can't promise anything more than that." "Thank you," he replied, overwhelmed by a swell of emotions. "I really appreciate it. I'll get it to you right away." As he ended the call, he felt a rush of adrenaline, the beginning of empowerment mixing with lingering apprehension. What followed would be more than just a professional relationship, it was a reckoning, an opportunity to evolve. Tyler realized that he had to prepare for Ruby's response, whatever it may be. He had to ensure that his vision wasn't clouded by past mistakes. Sitting back at his desk, he stared at his sketchpad filled with ideas and designs. This had turned into something bigger than he had initially envisioned. Maybe Ruby's decision would focus on their mutual progress, marking a pivotal turning point for both of them, but as he opened the laptop to finalize his proposal, doubt crept in once more. Could their collaboration genuinely work after everything? What if she still held resentment? The proposal felt monumental, but would it bridge the chasm of his previous mistakes and her understandable hesitation? Time would tell. For now, he had to focus on crafting a message that resonated with sincerity and creativity. The moment was ripe with possibilities, yet uncertainty loomed like a shadow. Would this proposal be enough to not only win Ruby back but also to restore his confidence as a leader? As he lost himself in the paperwork, all he could think was that the real work was just beginning. The stakes were high and the air crackled with tension. He was on the cusp of either failure or a dramatic identity rebirth, one that could redefine not only his business but his very self. Tomorrow's unveiling would determine if he could face the challenges ahead, reuniting the fragmented pieces of his professional soul. Would Ruby's response open the doors for their collaboration, or would it seal his fate in failure? Sitting at his desk, Tyler's fingers hovered hesitantly over the keyboard as he sought the right words for the proposal. It was deceptively simple, this act of writing, yet the complexities of emotion buried beneath each keystroke weighed heavily on him. His pulse quickened as he grappled with his thoughts. He had to convey not only the professional need for Ruby's creativity but also the profound shift in his personal understanding of collaboration. Every fiber of his being screamed that this was his chance to rewrite their story, to show significant growth from the selfishness that had cost him so dearly. But lurking in the depths of his mind was a jarring realization: he needed to confront more than just Ruby's skepticism. He had voids to fill within himself. Tyler spent the evening combing through his sketches, analyzing what worked and what was flawed. Each piece of art told a segment of a story he wanted to tell together. Yet, he recognized that beyond the aesthetics, He needed to imbue an understanding of partnership that hadn't existed before. A wave of self-doubt crashed over him again. How could he become a leader worth returning to? He closed his sketchpad, breathing deeply, trying to summon some clarity as he moved to the living room. The clutter of his workspace mirrored the confusion swirling in his thoughts. Finding a semblance of order in his life had always been an uphill battle. Could he really transform those chaotic frustrations into something that allowed room for his and Ruby's shared vision? His phone buzzed, breaking his train of thought. An email notification from Ruby flashed on the screen, a message from her that read, "I saw your proposal. We need to talk." The ambiguity of her tone sent a shiver of apprehension down his spine. It dawned on him that this was the crunch point. Ruby, once the creative goddess who flew vibrantly alongside him, was now possibly the judge of both his work and his character. There was no turning back, no avoiding the consequences of his past actions, and it was time to face whatever criticism or skepticism she would throw his way. But rather than shrink in fear, Tyler wrestled with the burgeoning emotion of resolve. He had taken the first step by reaching out, and it was time to extend that momentum into the conversation that lay ahead. In the ensuing silence, he took a moment to confront the remnants of the guilt that loomed like a specter from their past. He had taken Ruby's trust for granted and in doing so, erased part of himself. The key was transformation not just at the superficial level of creativity but within his leadership style and the relationships he fostered. The stark honesty he'd shared in their last conversation revealed his vulnerability, and it dawned on him that real leadership involved embracing that very vulnerability. He had been afraid of showing weakness, but now he understood it was in accepting his flaws that he became tragically human, and more relatable. With the clock ticking relentlessly, the urgency to prepare for the meeting spurred him into action. Tyler grabbed his laptop and began poring over their business vision plan again. He committed to delineating not just his aspirations but their collaborative goals. This time, he wanted every line to reflect not only his dreams but the results of their creative synergy made whole. What would Ruby see in his proposal? Would she only catch remnants of the man he once was, or could she perhaps glimpse the leader he envisioned becoming? The hour grew late, but intoxicated by determination, he pored over draft after draft until something distinctly feeling emerged. This was a call for collaboration, and he was prepared to articulate it brilliantly. Yet doubt lingered at the edges, gnawing at his certainty. If the proposal was a reflection of his shift in perspective, would it be enough to persuade her? He could feel that everything hung precariously on the meeting they shared. The risks were towering, along with the potential for significant rewards. This was the moment to truly confront his fears. As he clicked send on the final proposal, a rush filled him. This moment wasn't merely about the pitch, it was a leap into forging a new reality for both of them. The time had come to reclaim his narrative, and the real confrontation lay ahead, ready to peel back layers of his past actions. That he took a deep, steadying breath and rehearsed the words he would use. Tomorrow would be a reckoning, either marking the beginning of a new era or pouring salt into old wounds. What would Ruby's reaction reveal about not just their partnership, but the man he was destined to become? The sun had just begun to rise, casting warm hues through Tyler's bedroom window as he packed away remnants of sleep with each deliberate action. His stomach churned with the anticipation of what lay ahead, yet somehow, the liberating promise of change dulled the anxiety. This would be a day of dual confrontations, one with Ruby, and another with the parts of himself he had neglected. That he buttoned his crisp shirt with care, each fastened button feeling like a small manifesto against his old self, the one who had allowed pride to push away invaluable partnerships. The reflection in the mirror showed someone transformed, albeit still uncertain. Confidence stood at the edge of his posture, ready for him to embrace it but hesitating in the grip of old fears. He couldn't afford to slip back into familiar patterns, he had to build anew. Stepping into the cafe where they agreed to meet, he scanned the room, spotting Ruby seated at a corner table. Her expression was unreadable, an inscrutable mix of curiosity and apprehension. Taking a breath, he approached her, hesitant but resolute. "Hey," he said, forcing a veneer of calm over the flurry of emotions inside. "Hey," she responded, her voice steady but her gaze scrutinizing, as if she were assessing the transformation she had come to witness. They exchanged small talk, but Tyler felt the weighty subject of the proposal loom over them. He couldn't delay the inevitable. "Ruby, I want to talk about what I sent you, our collaboration." The transition from casual to serious felt like stepping from sunlight into a shadow. Her eyes narrowed. This was the moment when the true exchange began. "Your proposal was unexpected," Ruby said, her tone cautiously measured. "I'm intrigued, but I need to know what has fundamentally changed. Why should I believe this isn't just another rehearsed patchwork of ideas?" Her words struck a raw nerve, digging deep into the insecurities he had wrestled with the night before. "I know it's hard to trust me again. I've given you too many reasons not to, but I'm trying to be better in our work and as a person. I recognize I've been selfish, and that can't happen anymore." Ruby tilted her head slightly, assessing his sincerity. "Self-reflection is one thing. Actions, though, actions are what matter. What's different about how you want to move forward?" Tyler could feel the stakes rising as he began laying bare his urgency for change. "I want to prioritize collaboration. I want this to be a partnership. I've learned that creativity thrives in an environment of trust and openness. I'm ready to let go of my ego and really listen this time." "Proof is in the practice, Tyler," she replied, her voice steady yet tinged with cautious optimism. "You'll need to show me, not just tell me." Her challenge lit a fire inside him. Here was a chance to prove he wasn't all talk, and the prospect of having to back up his words felt both exhilarating and terrifying. "I'm committed to generating ideas with you, not just for you," he pressed forward. "Every piece of this journey will be informed by your insights, your creativity. I want to co-create rather than dictate." As they shared ideas and hesitations, each word felt like scaffolding, building a new framework, the dialogue shifting the dynamic from old faults into potential. Tyler saw light in her eyes that had previously been obscured by doubt. She was not just hearing him, she was responding, engaging, slowly forming a tentative bridge, yet, as they fleshed out their ideas, uncertainty gnawed at Tyler. Would it be enough? The fear of failing again lingered in his mind, whispering at him during every pause. As Ruby began to share her visions, Tyler felt a swell of gratitude mixed with the challenge of maintaining his newfound commitment. He wanted to prove that he could transcend the boundaries of his old self, not just for Ruby but for his own growth, yet the clock ticked on, and with it came the realization that this was just the beginning. Both of them would have to forsake comfortable patterns for the unknown, stepping into a shared space that required vulnerability from each side. "In 3 months, we can reconvene and see where we are," Ruby suggested, her tone taking on a note of determined optimism. "But understand it's going to take both of us giving our all." "Agreed," Tyler replied, clarity surging within him. Perhaps the moment to solidify their new direction was closer than he had dared to envision, but just as his determination solidified, another thought surfaced. What if he stumbled? What if the very qualities that fueled his ambition returned to tempt him back to past mistakes? The journey ahead would remain fraught with challenges. In the growing silence, he realized that the road wasn't solely about the outcome but rather the authenticity of effort in the face of fear. As they wrapped up their discussion, Tyler felt the palpable tension between hope and doubt reverberate within him. This was merely a taste of what was to unfold, a tantalizing hint of his resurrection, yet with it came the nagging question: was he genuinely ready to navigate this uncharted territory alongside Ruby? And with that uncertainty looming, he understood they were standing at the precipice of something both transformative and dangerously unfamiliar. The days blurred together in the wake of that pivotal meeting with Ruby. Each morning began with a renewed sense of purpose but was often accompanied by underlying doubt, a constant hum in the back of his mind. Tyler was determined not to let fear dictate his actions, yet, with each passing hour, he was left grappling with the emergent nature of their partnership. He threw himself into work, absorbing every piece of feedback Ruby offered, eager to transform their collaboration into something that flourished. Yet with each brainstorming session, he wrestled with the ingrained habit of wanting to dominate the conversation, to dictate the direction of their discussions out of an instinct born from years of unchecked ambition. One evening, while reviewing the latest drafts of their project, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the glass window of the office. The face staring back was familiar but, more than anything, bore the complexities of unresolved growth. Hadn't he just vowed to listen? The internal struggle was palpable, the cracks in his resolve becoming fractures as he fought against years of entitlement. Tyler made a commitment that night before heading to bed. He would seek out direct feedback from Ruby, not just in correspondence, but in real-time discussions. He needed to initiate a culture of collaboration that transcended their previous challenges. The following week, during their next meeting, he broached the subject of how they could effectively distribute power in conversations. "I want to make sure your voice is at the forefront of our ideas," he started, his heart racing. "But I also need you to call me out when I falter. I can't go back to the way things were." Ruby studied him, her expression conflicted. "You're setting the bar really high," she noted, allowing the silence to cascade between them. "I want to believe you, Tyler, but intention is only the beginning. It's your follow-through that will truly matter." She pushed back, her candor a striking reminder of the stakes at play. Anger tinged the edges of his gratefulness, fighting to rise as a resounding counterbalance. "I would ask for the same if the roles were reversed," he replied. "But I understand if you find it hard to trust me right now." That recognition of vulnerability, of confronting his own fears and limitations, ignited a spark. Outside of his entrenched mindset, he realized that their growth was dependent upon mutual accountability and transparency. There could be no fragile bond here, they needed a rope woven from resilience. Despite that breakthrough, shadows of self-doubt lingered. Moments of hesitation crept back into the periphery of his thoughts, nudging him toward the safety of the past. What if this new partnership unraveled? What if old habits resurfaced? Compounding his insecurities was a revelation during a lunch break when he overheard colleagues discussing the latest successful startups and the startup founders who were gaining notoriety. Tyler felt a twist of envy mixed with apprehension coursing through him. It seemed each success story held an unspoken truth about sacrifice, about the risk of pushing through discomfort. Fighting back against the wave of insecurities, he scheduled a session with a mentor, a seasoned veteran in the industry. As he prepared to lay out his intentions, he found clarity shifting beneath the weight of his unresolved feelings. "It's easy to talk about change," the mentor advised, "but it's the hard choices and the risks fused with shared vulnerability that determine growth." Encouraged by the mentor's insight, Tyler grasped the essence of this moment, a moment that demanded more than just words. He needed to take bold actions that shook the very foundation of his initial path. Pulling out his notebook that evening, he began jotting down ways that he could actively engage Ruby's expertise while directly confronting his need for validation. Changes in their project would hinge on his willingness to let go of his need to control, focusing instead on co-creating a vision where both their strengths could shine. That he felt adrenaline building as he envisioned each step ahead. The possibilities of failure loomed, yet for the first time, the idea of shared growth inspired fervor rather than trepidation. His phone buzzed with a message from Ruby just as he finished drafting his thoughts. "Let us meet tomorrow. I've got some intriguing ideas. I think they'll excite you about where we can go." A blend of anticipation and anxiety coursed through him. Was this where things could change for real? Was he ready to embrace the unknown, not just as a team member but as a champion for their joint aspirations? With a renewed sense of determination, Tyler laid the groundwork for a future fueled by collaboration and authenticity, yearning to break the chains of his past pitfalls. Transformation awaited, and for the first time, he wondered if he could truly achieve the potential he had long envisioned. But as he drifted into sleep, uncertainty crept back into his mind. What if, in his eagerness to change, he stumbled irreparably? Each revelation felt thrilling, yet the prospect of failing Ruby again loomed larger than ever. The question reverberated as he surrendered to his dreams: how far was he willing to go to keep from falling back into past mistakes? The morning sun cut through the blinds, stirring Tyler from troubled sleep, its brightness a stark contrast to his shadows of doubt. The uncertainty from the night clung to him like a weight. He felt both excitement and dread about the impending meeting with Ruby. Today was about more than business. It was an emotional crucible, forcing him to confront the essence of their partnership and his own metamorphosis. Upon entering the office, he could sense a palpable tension in the air. Ruby was already waiting, her laptop open and her fingers hovering over the keys. Tyler's palms were clammy as he approached, his mind racing with the fear of misstepping. He had promised to engage meaningfully, but the impulse to dominate creased his thoughts like a storm on the horizon. "Hey, Tyler," Ruby greeted him, her voice laced with hopeful undercurrents. "I've got some ideas for the project layout that I think you'll find interesting." Eager to encourage her, Tyler nodded, taking a deep breath. "I'm all ears, Ruby. I want to hear everything." He was surprised by the rush of warmth emerging from their exchange. Verbalizing his commitment sowed a seed of assurance deep within him. As Ruby articulated her ideas, layered with innovative concepts and strategies, Tyler took careful notes, forcing himself not to interject. But the urge to guide her narrative remained. He squashed the instinct down, focusing instead on the rhythm of her words, allowing them to impact his reasoning. He was acutely aware of how easily he could derail their progress by reverting to old defenses. "How do you see this resonating with our core audience?" he asked, genuinely curious. The question hung in the air as he realized he was shifting the dynamic, stepping back without losing agency. It felt strange yet exhilarating to seek Ruby's insight rather than overshadow it. With every idea she shared, Tyler's mind expanded, fragmenting previously rigid perspectives into liquid possibilities. Here was a window into a collaborative dynamic he didn't know he needed. Each of Ruby's suggestions shined a light on facets of the project he hadn't contemplated. "Let us integrate your feedback into my initial framework," he proposed later, feeling the collaborative flow strengthen. "It's going to elevate what we're working on." The words came out almost effortlessly. They ignited a fire of collective creativity that resonated between them, but as they delved deeper into the project, Tyler's inner critic reared its head. He envisioned every scenario in which he might falter, the fear of failure curling coldly around his spine. It loomed an omnipresent specter whispering worst-case outcomes and reminding him about all the opportunities he had squandered before Ruby's momentum breached the walls of his imagination. "Are you okay, Tyler? You seem a little distant," she remarked, an unguarded concern in her tone. Caution flooded through him, an urge to shield his vulnerabilities. But he also recognized the very openness he had asked of Ruby. "Yeah, just working through some thoughts. I want us to excel together, but I feel this weight, old habits die hard." His voice trembled at the confession, a rare moment of authenticity cutting through. "Let us work through it. We can adapt and iterate," she responded, her gaze steady and supportive. "Forgiveness isn't just for others, it's for ourselves too." The quiet honesty in her words struck him. In this exchange, a new strength emerged, one not dependent on mastery or validation. Together they could navigate these risks, embracing uncertainty as part of growth. As they wrapped up their session, buoyed by shared ideas and collective ambition, Tyler felt the day's weight lighten. He had risked vulnerability, and the outcome was richer than he had ever anticipated, yet, a lingering thought persisted. Would he rise to the occasion when true challenges emerged, or would his past self yank him back into the shadows? With Ruby's partnership as his anchor, he understood the stakes were no longer confined to the project, they extended into his own personal quest for transformation. The meeting ended, and Tyler found himself lingering at Ruby's desk for just a moment longer. "Thank you for challenging me," he said, a sincere gratitude bridging their professional connection deeper. "Just remember, Tyler. We're in this together." "No pressure, only purpose," she replied, a smile pulling at the corners of her lips. As he exited, fresh purpose ignited a sense of determination within him. He could rid himself of past limitations, emerge stronger if only he was ready to confront the realities that lay ahead. But his mind swirled with another, more lingering thought: what would happen when the first true test of their partnership emerged? As he walked toward the elevator, he couldn't shake the realization, the moment of truth was fast approaching. Tyler's rejuvenated determination propelled him through the rest of the day, yet beneath the surface, an undercurrent of apprehension pulsated. His thoughts oscillated between the excitement of collaborative possibilities with Ruby and the gnawing fear of failure that haunted him. Each completed task felt like a fragile facade, hiding the tempest brewing within. The next morning dawned with an uncharacteristic crispness, a reminder of the choices awaiting him. He stepped into the office, where the usual clamor was notably muted. The entire team seemed to carry an expectation in the air, one that sent a pang of anxiety through him. This was not just another Tuesday, it was a crucial juncture for their project. "Tyler, can you join us in the conference room?" A colleague's voice jolted him from introspection. He nodded, following the request that felt both urgent and unsettling. Each step echoed in his mind as a countdown to an impending confrontation. As he settled into his chair, Ruby smiled warmly at him, a beacon amidst the growing tension. But then, Amira, the head of operations, stood to speak. "Thank you all for being here. We're unveiling the project direction today, and I want to clarify our priorities moving forward." Tyler's heart raced. He had previously taken the lead on these presentations, the role of orchestrating ideas had often been his favorite. Yet here he was, aware of how the dynamics had shifted since his collaboration with Ruby. This was her moment too, a stage that he had many times commandeered, but now he felt compelled to share. "Let us take insights from the recent feedback and integrate them into our framework." "Ruby has some great ideas," he interjected, conscious of the hesitance that dictated his words. It was an acknowledgement of breakthrough, but as soon as he spoke, doubt crept in like an unwelcome shadow. Amira's brow furrowed incredulously. "That's bold, Tyler. You've typically driven these discussions." The statement hung heavily around the table, whispers echoing in his mind. "Change is part of our growth," Ruby added, her tone steady. It provided some comfort but also forced Tyler to consider the type of leader he aspired to be. He had chosen to push past the reflex to dominate, yet there was still palpable pressure not to regress. Indeed, he later affirmed, wrestling with the added weight of performing well in front of his peers. "Ruby's collaborative approach brings fresh perspectives we cannot ignore. We should promote inclusivity to enhance our creativity." As the meeting proceeded, Tyler fought against his own insecurities, finding clarity in the synergy of discussion. The more they spoke, the clearer it became that effective collaboration was not merely a strategy, it was a necessity. Yet guilt skimmed the surface of his resolve, remnants of an old self who had often shunned teamwork in favor of autonomy. Would this inclination be sufficient to keep him buoyant during turbulent tides? Moments passed, ideas unfolded, and Tyler began envisioning how he might adapt these approaches in his future interactions. The fear of losing control lingered, yet with every idea Ruby contributed, his confidence replaced the hesitations that had once chained him. As the meeting concluded, Tyler remained seated for a moment longer, contemplating the next steps. The outcome was better than he anticipated. This was a team shaping something more significant than himself. But as he reflected on the fleeting struggle between old habits and a fresh outlook, he realized another confrontation loomed just beyond the horizon. The weight of Ruby's words from days prior echoed back, her reminder of partnership still ringing clear: "We're in this together." But with his newfound understanding came a challenge, rooted deeper than work dynamics. Would he seize the opportunity to not only adapt in the workplace but also evolve personally? As Tyler leaned back, his mind racing with possibilities and uncertainties, a single thought crystallized the air: it was only a matter of time before they faced resistance. Would he have the resilience to confront it head-on? The day after the meeting, Tyler entered the office with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. The euphoria from having shared the spotlight with Ruby still lingered, yet it was tempered by the certainty that today's agenda would bring more challenges. Amira had scheduled follow-up sessions to delve deeper into ideas gleaned from the last meeting. This meant more critical eyes would be scrutinizing not just the project but Tyler's emerging role within the team. As he settled into his workspace, he overheard snippets of conversation among his colleagues, a blend of excitement and skepticism about the proposed collaborative changes. The tension reverberated around him, wrapping him in layers of self-doubt. Could he truly embrace this shift toward shared leadership? Or was it merely a fleeting response to his fear of being alone in the spotlight? Fingers tapping nervously against his desk, he pulled up his calendar and noted Ruby's invitation for a brainstorming session later that morning. They had carved out this time deliberately, wanting to ensure that their ideas didn't get lost amidst Amira's rigorous directives. But a sense of dread settled in. What if he faltered? What if he couldn't muster the courage to fully engage with their vision for the project? With resolve, Tyler made his way to the small conference room. Ruby was already there, surrounded by a few colorful sticky notes, pens, and an energy that seemed to brighten the otherwise sterile space. Her face lit up as she saw him, and she gestured towards the scattered notes. "Let us build on what we discussed," she exclaimed. "I want to hear all your thoughts. This is our space to innovate." For a moment, Tyler hesitated, scanning the vibrant post-its where ideas jostled for attention. The urge to retreat into silence threatened to creep back in. But Ruby's enthusiasm galvanized him. In a swift motion, he grabbed a pen, a marker for his rising determination. "Great! I think we should highlight our audience's interests more. If we show them how this project aligns with their needs, we'll get better engagement," he offered, feeling a rush of adrenaline push away his insecurities. Ruby beamed, adding her thoughts fluidly. As they bounced ideas back and forth, a strange alchemy began to unfold. It was as if the room electrified with each shared insight. Tyler realized he was no longer just a vessel for his thoughts but a vital contributor, actively transforming ideas into tangible plans. This newfound synergy almost seduced him into oblivion, the singular joy of collaboration overshadowing the lingering background noise of doubt. But deeper within his psyche lay a gnawing feeling, a residue of guilt for every time he had previously clung to control and sidelined others. Just when the session felt like an unmitigated success, that guilt clawed back into his consciousness, reminding him of the significant changes he was embracing. Was it really worth the loss of his former self? At the end of the session, they reviewed the day's work. Ruby scribbled notes enthusiastically, her focus unwavering, and Tyler felt a flicker of hope igniting in his chest. "This is a fantastic start, Ruby. I never thought I'd be able to engage in such an open way," he admitted, feeling the weight of the previous days lifting. However, as he prepared to leave, a looming question hovered: was it merely a positive shift in environment, the spontaneous thrill of working with Ruby that fueled him, or was he genuinely evolving? And even as excitement brewed within him, he sensed a new hurdle approaching. Amira would want to review their progress soon, and it wouldn't just be about ideas. With the door closing softly behind him, Tyler's mind began racing. Proof of real change wouldn't just come from fresh ideas, it would require measurable results in front of scrutinizing eyes. The true test lay ahead, and it was time to confront the reality that collaboration could amplify their efforts but also expose the underbelly of their vulnerabilities. Would he truly be ready to step into a more expansive role when the pressure mounted? Tyler glanced back toward the conference room. The horizon was looming, uncertain and exhilarating. The moment of truth appeared imminent, and with it, fresh challenges loomed. Would he dare to rise against the odds, or would the comforts of the past drag him back into the shadows? The air buzzed with palpable excitement and a touch of trepidation as Tyler paced outside the sleek conference room. Today was a significant day, the culmination of weeks of hard work, introspection, and painstakingly earned trust. Ruby would be presenting their collaborative project proposal to Amira and the other stakeholders. This was not merely a presentation, it was a collective testament to their growth and new direction. Weeks ago, Tyler had feared losing control, succumbing to the echoes of his past. But through every brainstorming session with Ruby, he had learned to embrace vulnerability, a quality he had once deemed a weakness. The synergy they had built together felt electric, grounded in authenticity and shared vision. "Ready?" Ruby's voice jolted him from his thoughts, and her calm demeanor anchored him. "Absolutely," he replied, surprising even himself with the conviction in his tone. He realized in that moment that he wasn't just relying on Ruby, he was ready to embrace his role in this partnership fully. As they entered the room, a wave of confidence washed over Tyler. He noted the slight smiles exchanged among his colleagues, a signal of their anticipation. Amira sat at the head of the table, her expression serious yet inquisitive. "Let us see what you both have come up with," she said, leaning forward with arms crossed. Ruby began, her voice engaging, detailing their strategic approach and how their work addressed client needs with renewed creativity and relevance. Tyler felt a sense of pride swell. This was the result of collaboration, of listening rather than dictating. He chimed in to elaborate on their methodologies and the unique elements that could set their project apart, speaking with newfound assurance. It was exhilarating. He felt the familiar rush of being in the spotlight, but this time, he was sharing it willingly. He turned to Ruby, whose animated expressions mirrored his own enthusiasm. They weren't just colleagues, they were co-creators, transforming ideation into a shared vision that pulsed with potential. As they fielded questions from the panel, Tyler saw moments where Ruby's insights were met with genuine intrigue, her talent shining through. But more importantly, he recognized that he was actively supporting her ideas rather than outshining them. This shift in behavior marked a profound pivot in his professional life, a tangible expression of his growth. "Your proposal is compelling," Amira finally concluded after the presentation, "but let's talk details. How are you planning to integrate feedback as the project evolves?" Tyler felt a jolt. This was an opportunity to show their commitment to collaboration. "We're embracing a flexible approach," he stated clearly. "Ruby and I will conduct regular check-ins, welcoming diverse feedback from the team. It's not just about locking in a set plan, it's about evolution through collaboration." The meeting wrapped up, and Tyler left the room buoyed by an exhilarating sense of achievement. Applause echoed softly behind him as Amira expressed excitement to see their proposal develop further. It was a significant milestone, but more than that, it resonated deeply within him, a pivotal moment of personal transformation. Weeks later, as Tyler reflected on their journey, he felt more grounded, confident in his role. Through collaboration with Ruby, he had confronted his weaknesses, shattered the hold of his ego, and emerged renewed. They had fostered a culture where their workplace creative spirit vibrated with life no longer confined to efficiency but instead thriving on collaboration and unity. As Tyler sat across from Ruby at their favorite cafe, he considered how far they had come. "I wouldn't have imagined this kind of success without you," he admitted, gratitude spilling over. Ruby smiled, her eyes bright with shared ambition. "And I couldn't have imagined a project scope that captured our strengths so well. We've really created something beautiful." He nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment wash over him. Guilt from the past had transformed into a purposeful drive to further elevate their partnership, each collaborative success reinforcing the importance of mutual trust and respect. This was more than a personal accomplishment, it was a shared victory that propelled both of them to new heights. Tyler had proven that he could evolve, achieving the change he had long sought, to be a leader who valued vulnerability and partnership. With Ruby's presence reaffirming his newfound beliefs, he was on a trajectory toward accomplishment far beyond what he had envisioned. Today was not merely a day of work. It was the manifestation of transformation, resilient growth, and the foundation of a partnership that would continue to flourish. He had conquered his demons, and now, he could face whatever challenges lay ahead with the unified strength forged in collaboration. This is your moment to embrace transformation and growth. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. IT matters. Comment below your reactions and theories about Tyler's incredible journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to be part of the community that values personal overcoming. Don't wait even one more second to share.